Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is September 25th, and we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery here across Pacific Northwest. Check this big ridge out building across the area here, and then you've got the big troughing here over the Gulf of Alaska. Eventually, this energy is going to move towards Pacific Northwest, cool us down, bring some precipitation chances for the region. We'll check that out here in a moment. Right now, for National Weather Service in Seattle, is issued a fire weather watch for dry and unstable conditions, mainly above 1,500 feet, west slopes of the Cascades. So, a heads up if you're in the backcountry, use extra caution. We don't need another big fire starting in the west slopes of the Cascades here for sure. Spokane, Washington, dry and warm through Tuesday, then some changes hinting at that system coming through mid and later next week there. Looking at Seattle, 75 yesterday. We're going to be a little bit warmer today and tomorrow, probably breaking that all-time record high for September 26th there, set back in 2006 at the only temperature, the record high that back down into the 70s for September. And then maybe we'll bring some precipitation here for the end of September. We'll check that out here in a moment. Now looking here, you can see the Bolt Creek fire still producing some good smoke here across the Puget Sound. The Cedar Creek fire doing the same for southern Willamette Valley as well. So it's kind of the downfall here of this ridge, bringing this offshore flow across the area here. Now taking a look here, this is the European 925 millibars. You can plainly see this easterly flow kind of exists in some form all the way in through Tuesday morning here before we finally start to bring the flow back onshore as we go through Tuesday afternoon as the next system approaches. But that's still a couple days away here. We might have to deal with some smoke through western Washington and through western Oregon. You can see that plainly that easterly component to the winds down through Tuesday morning, down that south through Portland there as well. Now check out the HUR. I don't know, it's just kind of out to lunch with the Bolt Creek fire and the Cedar Creek fire. It's just not showing that fire activity going on right now. So it's not giving us much of a heads up on how the surface smoke is going to affect us here. This is vertically integrated, but it's not showing any fire activity at all really with those with these two fires here. Kind of interesting there. Now this is 10,000 feet. You can see the big ridge here forming over the Pacific Northwest. Trough swings through, and the weak system looks like it's going to start impacting us on Tuesday into Wednesday morning here. Then a little bit of a bounce back ridge after that. We'll check that out through the extended forecast coming up here. Now looking here, this is yesterday afternoon's European run, 24-hour running total precipitation amount. You can see the precip holds off here as this system approaches Wednesday morning. Just light amounts, maybe down through Portland, coastal range through Oregon. And the Olympic Mountains and Vancouver Island look to be the winners out of this system. That looks like some pretty good amounts, maybe North Puget Sound as well as the Northern Cascades here as well as we go through Thursday morning. We'll continue to watch this system here and try to pinpoint these precipitation totals as we get closer. But it definitely will cool down the area here versus the ridge we have going over the region right now. European on the left, GFS on the right, ridge builds over the area. Here comes the trough. Pretty good model agreement here, swinging this system towards Vancouver Island as we go on in through Wednesday morning now. And then you can kind of see a transient ridge build, quickly kick out, and then another trough swing by the area here. Pretty good model agreement here through hour 162 here on both the GFS and the European as this ridge kicks off through the Canadian prairies here. And the Gulf of Alaska low continues to churn there across through the extended forecast, I should say. Now taking a look here, Seattle, Tacoma, look at this. This temperature's been trending upward into the low 80s, maybe to the mid 80s even, and maybe one more warm day here on Tuesday. The reason why this isn't a heat wave, I mean, 84 is not downright hot anyway. It's just pretty much warm, but we're not spending a lot of time at these high temperatures here, and the overnight lows cool down quite nicely into the 50s. So it's not like we can call this a heat wave. There's going to be really no heat impacts on the general population here, which is why we don't call it a heat wave now at this time of year. We're just not spending that much time at these temperatures well up into the 80s. Spokane, though, this is borderline hot out there, but again, eastern Washington, plenty used to these temperatures. Then you can see the cool down coming mid and later next week. Boise, looking way off into Idaho here, you can see the cool down potentially coming Thursday and Friday, but some nice warm temperatures here through midweek for Boise, Idaho. Portland, potential for a 90-degree day today, another warm day tomorrow before the general cool down, and then maybe another warm day as that transient ridge moves through here later on through next week. Klamath Falls here, nice warm days here, and then potential cool down as we go through mid and later next week, kind of showing that trend there again. Now, taking a look at Tropical Storm Ian here briefly, you can see it is a tropical storm now. It's forecast to move by Cuba as a major hurricane, move into the southern Gulf as a major hurricane. There is some uncertainty, as always here in the extended forecast, as to the track of the storm and the strength. It looks like it might start to encounter some shear as it starts to move through the northern portions of the Gulf of Mexico that would weaken the system here. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of track this takes coming up here. Now, taking a look, this is something we'll use for Pacific Northwest windstorms as well as we get closer to our windstorm season here across the region. But you have the European on the left, GFS on the right. These are ensemble means here. And you can kind of see the spaghetti chart showing you individual member mean sea level pressure. And this kind of shows you the spread and the uncertainty as you get out in the future here. As you can see, these blue lines mean a low of 970 to 980. For example, the green is 980 to 990. And then as you start to get these pink ones, that's a even deeper low, 960 to 970 here. But you can see generally shows the system moving into the Gulf. But you can see the European is pretty widespread here, even some deeper lows here off to the east of Florida here. But you can kind of see the GFS favoring a little bit more of a left westerly track versus the European here. But you can still see this uncertainty that exists out here at hour 108, which is fairly normal here. And you know, if you look back 10, 15 years ago, this is still a pretty good idea of where the storm system is going to move here versus some forecasts that we had to deal with 10 years ago that were much more uncertain. Now, taking a look here, this is another way to look at it, the European ensemble member-wise minimum sea level pressure here. This is, a culmination of all the ensemble members here showing different low-pressure systems based on each individual ensemble run. So you can kind of see where this favored location of where Ian is going to be here, but you can see the uncertainty exists as some ensemble members point to a more easterly track as well. And, of course, we saw the GFS with things lining up a bit more west. But you can see the European does have solutions off to the west here as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of days here as these solutions narrow down and we start to become more certain of a track on Ian here coming up. This is Sarasota International Airport here. Check out some of these wind speeds. I just wanted to show you guys this. This is the European ensemble runs here. You can see some of these individual members here up over 70 miles per hour. For some of these areas, the mean is well over 50 miles per hour here. So just something of curiosity here along the west portion of the Florida Panhandle down there. Now, this is looking at sea surface temperatures, very warm waters out here. The ocean temperatures are not going to be a concern for this. It's mainly going to be this upper level shear across the region, across the northern portion of the Gulf of Mexico, I should say here. Now, this is taking a look at that. Here you can see Ian down here south of Cuba. There's Florida, Gulf of Mexico here. Here's where the better wind shear lies, and this can start to disrupt a tropical system as it moves closer. So you can see generally not much shear, probably a little bit of a weakening period as it moves across Cuba there. But as it moves north, you'll see it start to encounter more of this wind shear, and that can start to disrupt that circulation and that deeper convection across the region. But some of the models show this kind of slowing down here, and the impacts could still really be nasty from this storm system here, flooding potential, and a slow-moving hurricane is never a good thing when it starts to approach landfall there. Now, taking a look here off towards the Philippines, I want to show you guys this. This is Typhoon Noru. It was a Category 4 yesterday. I honestly don't know if this went to a Category 5, but you can see the eye as it moved towards, kind of got disrupted here as it moved towards the Philippines. So hopefully it weakened a bit as it made landfall here. But this is going to emerge over the South China Sea, redevelop here, and then potentially slam into Vietnam. So you can see some pretty strong systems out and about across the planet right now. You can see the track of this that moves across the South China Sea, then hits Vietnam here in the next few days. So pretty rapid intensification here. Went from a weak typhoon to a very powerful typhoon in a very quick amount of time. The forecast did not handle this well. So if you have any concerns out there, Philippines, or any family out there, you guys have probably been hearing about this here in the last day. Now back to the Pacific Northwest, Quileute, Washington. Look at some of the precipitation totals showing up here as we go through Wednesday evening and in through Thursday morning here. pretty good agreement that we are going to see some precipitation here for portions of the Pacific Northwest. Just how much is still in question, but you see the control run and the mean generally calling for a quarter, maybe half an inch at best here. Now, looking at Seattle, Tacoma, of course, amounts less. The mean is generally less than 0.2 of an inch. We'll take anything we can get right now, of course, but you can see the control run even shows less, and some of these ensemble runs have actually no precipitation at all coming up here. So we'll see how this trends here in the next day or two. This is another kind of a Fantasyland forecast here. Look at this 24-hour snow potential here. This is Stevens Pass, the European, way out into early October here. Shows a smattering of measurable snowfall here at Stevens Pass. Just one of the tools we'll be using here. If you look over here, you can see we have White Pass, we have Paradise Mount Rainier, we have Snoqualmie Pass, all kinds of good stuff we can be checking out once things get closer. Mount Baker ski area, for example, if we click on that, you can see a few smatterings of some snowfall off into the extended possible here. Mission Ridge, we've got all kinds of stuff here we can check out, and we'll be watching this stuff as we get closer and the season gets more active here on in through November and December. Now, taking a look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, generally above average here, but not a very strong signal here as we go through early October. And then look at precipitation. We're starting to get into some higher probabilities for above average precipitation for Western Washington, Western Oregon as we go through October 2nd through the 8th here. So fingers crossed, maybe we'll start to put an end to this Bolt Creek fire and the Cedar Creek fire down here through Oregon. You know, we can hope anyway. But yeah, nice big ridge. If you're not in the smoke, get out there and enjoy those temperatures today. It looks like the last of the warm days will probably end with this trough arrival here. Maybe a quick bounce back with the transient ridge after that system there. But generally, once you get to this time of year, heat waves are done. You can still get some random warm days mixed in here. But again, like I said, we just don't spend, I mean, if SeaTac hits 82, it's not going to be for long, and we're going to cool back down nicely in the evening and overnight. So you can't call it a heat wave at this point. But anyway, we'll continue to watch these systems out here across Pacific. We'll check the model runs again tomorrow. And yeah, we'll hopefully get some of this precipitation in here, put an end to some of this forest fire activity across the Cascades. And again, watch out for the high country here across Western Washington, especially about 1,500 feet. Conditions are very favorable for fire starts. So hopefully everybody in the backcountry is being safe there. Anyway, we'll do this again tomorrow, and we'll try to find out some consistency in the extended forecast. And I will talk to you guys then.